Hi, my friends. My name is Francis, and I use they, them pronouns. I'm glad you're here. Alright, so for today, we're going back into the queer education series. Hurrah! Huzzah! Yay! This time, I am tackling the question of how do you choose your name? A name. If you've ever written a book, made a sim character, or had a child, you know that naming something is not an easy task. And it gets so much harder when it's yourself that you're naming. First off, people are so rude about it. Second off, it's your name. It can just be such a weird process to go through. Anyone can change their name for any reason, or anyone can decide to keep the name that they have for any reason. You don't have to be trans to change your name, and you don't have to change your name to be trans. They are not mutually exclusive. Hi, I'm an editor. I'm no expert on words or anything, but I'm pretty sure mutually exclusive was not the term I was looking for, or I just misused it. I'm pretty sure I just misused it. But for some trans people, your name you were assigned at birth carries a lot of trauma and dysphoria, which is why a lot of trans people end up changing their names. Or it's just a matter of they want people to call them by a more feminine name, a more masculine name, a more androgynous name. There's a bunch of reasons why a person might want to change their name. And we're going to talk about how to do that, because that's such a big thing. Oh, my hair is not dyed, by the way. I know it's pink right now, and last time it was green or something, but I literally just flipped my part to the other side of my split dye. It's pretty cool. A name is a gift, and like a gift, you can choose to return it or keep it or do really whatever you want with it. Someone gave it to you, and now you decide where to go from there. If you're gifted any sort of present and it doesn't work for you or it's not the right size, you can return it and get a different one. A name is also kind of like a tattoo sometimes. It could have some special meaning for you. It could connect you to something else in your life. It could just be something you find pretty. You could have it just because you like it. It doesn't really matter what your justification is for your name or your tattoo. It's your body. It's your life. You get to make that decision for yourself. Somebody can come up to you and say, I think that stick figure tattoo is stupid. And you'd be like, okay, cool. That's the point. I don't know. It's your name. It's your body. It's your life. It's your decision. It's your choice. Some important things to know is people change and your name can change too. If you say, hi, I'm this, later you can say, actually that name doesn't work for me, and you can change it. Either way, you can give yourself time to sit with a name and really think about, is this something you want to be called for this period of your life? What do you want to do from here with the subject of naming yourself? Give yourself time. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to know your name by next week. It's a process. And it's also important to realize that no name is actually gendered. You could hear a name and think, that's a feminine name, but it's the name of a man. Or vice versa, you could hear the name and say, that's masculine, but it's the name of a woman. There is no set person for a name. Let's say when you're going to change your name, maybe you're a trans man, but you really like the name Amelia. That's okay. Name yourself that if that's what you want. You don't have to feel held back or restricted in any way. The name you choose is your name. It's for you. That said, maybe you specifically do not want a masculine name, or you specifically do not want a feminine sounding name. Maybe you specifically need an androgynous noun name to feel comfortable with yourself, because dysphoria does weird things and it's not fun. That's my pre-philosophy. We're going to go on from there. Naming yourself is a whole process, and you can go about it really any way you want, but here's just some guidelines to get you started, possibly. I can't just look at you through the computer and be like, your name is Shu. I don't know you. I can't tell you your name right now. That's a personal decision you have to make for yourself. I'm just hoping to give you resources, ideas, starting points, stuff like that. Give you encouragement, give you love, give you care. Because I care for you, and I want you to have a name that makes you feel comfortable inside. We don't have a lamp anymore. I need a new lamp. Bye, buddy. There are some questions to ask yourself when looking for a name. First of all, do you want your name to have a really special, profound meaning? Or are you just wanting a name that has the vibes? How do you want your name to feel? Do you want it to feel harsh and punchy? Do you want it to feel smooth and silky? Do you want it to make people look twice? Do you want it to make people make assumptions about you? What do you want your name to be? What vibes? What do you want to express with your name? Do you want a name that is similar to your birth name so that it helps people make the transition into calling you it? Or do you want it to be dissimilar to your name so that people don't try to reverse engineer and figure out what it was before? Or, just a thought, do you want to have a name that's similar to your birth name for the people who already know you and a different name for the people who you're meeting? Also a thing to think about. Are you comfortable with noun names? Because if you're comfortable with noun names, you can literally just look around your room and be like, I want to be named Camera. Camera's a pretty cool name. Are you comfortable with your name being associated with different genders? Would you be uncomfortable with a name that is associated with femininity or masculinity, androgyny? How much do you care about what society will feel about your name? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what society feels about your name, but it matters how you feel about how they feel. I hope that makes sense. And is there anyone in specific who you'd like to include in the naming process? You don't have to do this, but it could be useful. And just a thought, in case you hadn't thought of it before, you can involve other people in the process of naming yourself. And it could be a really cool bonding experience. But if you do that, you might want to make sure that the person you're naming yourself with won't mess you over. Just a thought. You don't want to have negative connotations with it. Part 2. Where are places that I can find lists of names or ideas for names? Well, do I got some ideas for you. The number one and most obvious place to look for names is baby name websites. Baby name websites are amazing. You can literally just be like boys' names that start with C, and it'll list it, and you can be like German boys' names that starts with C, and it'll give you a whole big list. There's so many possibilities at a baby naming website. It's so great. You can also look to your comfort characters. Maybe you want to be named Castiel or Daryl, or what are other comfort characters? Elle, Misa. I don't know. I'm just listing names at this point. Maybe you want to be named after your comfort character. That's super cool, bro. You can be named Garnet if you want to be named Garnet. Doesn't matter. It's your decision. It's all about you and what makes you feel comfortable and safe and happy. You can also go to the credit sections of movies. That's weird. You don't have to do that, but you could do it. There is so many names. There were like 13,000 jobs made just for the movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds and Jacksepticeye. You could just scroll through the credits and be like, those are some interesting names. Yeah, I like those. Oh, here's an idea for any name that you see that you like. Write it down on a sheet of paper, and then later you can go through and like compare them and see which one you like best. Or multiple you like best. You can have more than one name. That's fine. You could also just look up on TikTok feminine names, non-binary names, masculine names, and there are people who have gone through and made lists of names, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of resources there. But if you don't have TikTok, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. But there's other places you can look for names, I promise. You could also mash a bunch of names together like you're creating a German word. You could look at the name Castiel and be like, yeah, I really like that. And the name Garnet and name yourself Garniel. I just made that up entirely. But Garniel's not a terrible name. But you can do that, just take these names, mash them up, cut them up, Frankenstein them. Make yourself a Frankenstein name. That's super cool. You can also go on a random word generator and just make weird words and be like, yeah, that's my name now. Biskyavisnia. That's my new name, Biskyavisnia. That's my Fallout character's name. That's why I say that. Biskyavisnia was a Frankenstein name, though. You can just think of a word you like and be like, that's my name now. I almost named myself Ithaca at one point because that's a really cool name that means a lot to me. It was too feminine, but you could just do that. If the word Phoenix is like powerful for you, you can name yourself Phoenix. That's awesome. That's so cool. Speaking of phoenixes, you could just name yourself after a mythical creature. You could be Cerberus. Who's stopping you from being Cerberus? Not me. I'm not stopping you from being Cerberus. So you can look at mythical creatures and just be like, yeah, that really vibes with me. That's me right there. That's pretty cool, bro. Also, sorry I keep saying bro. I'm saying it as a gender neutral way, I promise. I'm not assuming any of your genders. I love you. You could give yourself a name that has spiritual meaning. You could give yourself a name after a deity or a patron saint or after some part of a religion or tradition that you really like and that really connects with you. You could name yourself Halloween. You can name yourself after a gem, a color, an element. You could name yourself after something connected to wind, fire, rain, earth. You can name yourself so many things. You could name yourself Terraform and go by Terra. Do you know how cool that would be? If you decide to name yourself Terraform and you go by Terra, please let me know. You would make my life so much better. Another thing I wrote down, and I'm not really sure how it would actually be used in practice, so I don't have an example, but you could name yourself after a philosophical concept. You could name yourself Pygmalion. I don't know. Pygmalion's a pretty cool name. I don't know if I'd want to name myself after that concept. But, like, just concepts are cool too. You can name yourself after concepts. You can name yourself after a last name. People do that all the time. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, his middle name was McFeely because that was like his mother's maiden name or something. His first name could have been McFeely. You could name yourself after a last name. You could name your... I keep going back to Supernatural. I don't know why. A lot of people like Supernatural. You could name yourself Padalecki. That's a pretty cool name. Padalecki. Yeah. Giving you all sorts of great ideas. That was the end of my resources that I had available to think of. But I'm sure we could think of more if you want to brainstorm in my comment section. Yay. Super cool, bro. And you can take as much time as you need with making a name and choosing a name and all that stuff with the process of making a name and giving yourself a name. You can give yourself time with that. You can ask for help with that. You can enter online groups that are also either genderqueer or whatever reason you're changing your name. You can go to groups on the internet and discuss it with your peers. You could give yourself a name that only you ever know. If that's what you really want to do, you could name yourself and then not come out to anyone as that name. If that's something you really wanted to do, you could do that too. Whatever makes you feel good. You can have multiple names. I think it's cool to have multiple names. Maybe I'm biased. I have multiple names, but like you can do that stuff, Like there's so many possibilities. If you feel like this is what you need for your name, you can do that with your name, and it's totally cool. It's all fine. We're good. It's awesome. And you can have a name that only a group of people call you. I met a kid once whose name was whatever anyone wanted it to be. Like, I asked them what their name was, and they said, "What do you want to call me?" And I was like, "What do I want to call you?" And they were like, "Yeah, this person calls me Steve. This person calls me Water Bucket." I don't know what their names were, but it was like nouns and masculine names and feminine names. And this kid literally just walked around and was like, "You can call me whatever name you want to call me. That's okay. I'm fine with that." They liked it. They thought it was cool to have all these nicknames from all these people. It was a great time. I thought that was super cool. And whatever you choose is valid no matter what people say. I mean, I would be a little skeptical if your name was like Adolf or Hitler or Stalin or something. Like, don't name yourself something that's going to hurt people, please, because that's not cool. But other than that, you can name yourself like whatever you want. It's a fun time. Don't name yourself racist or supremacist things or sexist or any of that stuff. Don't name yourself bad things. And when people ask you about your name, you do not have to tell a single soul that you chose your name. You don't have to tell a single soul your birth name. That is for you to know. And the government. But that's government. Bleh. When I first chose a name that was not my dead name, I chose it as a nickname that I had been given as a child that was a derivative of my dead name. And at that time in my life, when people would ask me, "Oh, that's your name? What's it short for?" I would, in shame, tell them my dead name, even though it hurt a lot. I just felt like I had to. I don't know why I felt like I had to, but I would just tell people. And then I started getting really uncomfortable with the name I was going by, which was a derivative of my dead name. I was uncomfortable with it because it reminded me of my dead name. Did not like it. So I started going by Francis. Well, actually, I started going by Frankie, which is like the cool hip version of Francis in my brain. And now I basically just go by derivatives of Francis, which would be like Frankie, Frank, Franny, Fran, Francis. Wow. I'm pretty sure there was more I figured out from it, but that's what matters for now. The problem now is that I changed my first name, didn't like what I changed it to, and changed my middle name, really liked what I changed it to, don't like my last name a whole lot, so I don't really have like a first name or a last name that I really am. I only have a middle name. I am just a middle name. That is all that I am. My gender is middle name. Over the summer, I started messing around with first and last names, gravitated towards Halloween Geistwald. Halloween Francis Geistwald. I was so proud of it. I thought it was super cool. I tried it on for a little bit. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I really like the name Geistwald, the last name Geistwald. I created it. It's German. It means forest of ghosts. Because, I mean, honestly, I feel like everyone's last name is a forest of ghosts. I might keep that last name. I don't know, but I thought it was really cool. I was really proud of that one. But Halloween, I don't know how I feel about it as a first name. I'm getting sidetracked. But I like my name a lot. Francis, Frankie, Fran, Franny, Frank, Frank. I really like it. It's really cool. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And that's really all that matters when choosing a name, is that it makes you feel like warm and happy and like it feels like you. That's what matters in a name, is that when people call you it, it makes you happy, or at least doesn't make you unhappy. And it is a long and hard process. I'm still going through the process. I don't even know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll just have a middle name, because I don't want to not have a middle name. But that's all weird and just me being silly. It doesn't matter. And as a closing note, if someone is picking on you about your name and like, you know, man, all these non-binary names, if you choose a noun name, or like if they're just picking on you about your name in general, keep in mind that given names are weird too. Like, names are weird. People have been giving their kids noun names and last names as first names for forever. Like, names are just made up. Names are entirely made up, and it's silly that we just have this list of names. It's a long list, but like, we should be able to name ourselves whatever we want and not have to deal with racism and sexism and transphobia and homophobia about it. Homophobia. Does homophobia apply to that? I don't think homophobia applies to that. I think I just said a random word. Xenophobia. There we go. That fits better. Don't let people pick on you about your name. Don't let it get to you. If you want to name yourself something and people are like, that's silly. No, it's not. It's not silly. It's not silly at all. There's no joke here. That's your name. It's a really cool name, I betcha. Yeah. People are always going to be kind of rude like that. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm not just saying that because that's what YouTubers say. I have very little activity going on in my comment section. If you message me and you're like, I want to name myself Steven, and I can be like, wow, bro, that's super cool. I don't know. You can text me, you can message down in the comment section, and yeah, and I'll be like, wow, that's super cool. I really like that name. Or you can be like, hey, I want to name myself after a bug. Do you have suggestions? And we can like maybe work on it together. Not that I'm like this never-ending wealth of names, but like we can talk about it and stuff, and I think that'd be really cool. Also, if you just have further questions that you'd like to ask, you can put those down there too. I think next week I'm going to talk about proper binding methods, like for chest stuff, like binders and all that, because it's important to stay safe when binding, and it's also important for some people to bind because it euphoria, dysphoria, that whole thing. So far, I've only answered 2 questions. But yeah, leave me a comment. I love to see it. Every time someone comments on anything I make, it makes me really happy. I love you guys so much. Drink water, eat vitamins, make sure you eat something today, make sure you sleep today, take care of yourself. I love you. Bye.